Hey, what's up, guys? What's going on? Thanks for coming back to another segment of Dubs Nation. I want to take a second to thank everybody that's subscribed and started following this channel. I'm trying to grow the podcast, and it really means a lot to me. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and more importantly, like and share this video. This is how we're going to beat mainstream media. This is how we're going to beat social media networks, by showing them messages like this and others are the ones that people want to watch. Share the heck out of them, like them, so on and so forth. So thank you very much, guys, and please subscribe, like, and share. The very first video I've ever done was actually a message to President Trump and more so the Republicans, but no, both of them. And it was just me being kind of fed up with everything, and not being fed up with the president or anything like that, really, but more so just fed up and worried about the state of the union and the direction of the country, and worried about what would happen to us if he loses in November, if Joe Biden and Kamala Harris win and the Democrats also take the Senate. I mean, the thought of that prospect is just really scary, and it should scare a lot of people. Truthfully, it should, because they're all over the place. They're not the same as they used to be. We've talked about this time and time again. So the very first video I made was a message to President Trump, telling him to please, when you speak, stick to policy only. No personal feuds, no tweet tangents on nonsense or other things. Stick to policy. Your policies are good. They are. Too much is riding on this election. Too much is, and unfortunately, the entire country is being thrust onto one man, basically, and the party. And there's just so much working against him and the party, including the party itself, and sometimes the president himself. There should be no reason, Mr. President, that you speak to a jackal like Bob Woodward for 18 hours. I'm sorry. These people are never going to like you. They're never going to give you a fair shake, no matter what you do. Okay? It doesn't matter that you've now brokered three peace deals in the Middle East, which, by the way, are 3 more than every single one of your predecessors combined. They're never going to give you a fair shake on that. They're not going to give you a fair shake on anything. There's no reason you should be speaking to these clowns. Moreover, Republicans, I don't know supposedly this was Lindsey Graham's idea for President Trump to speak to Bob Woodward. You idiots need to stop with your shit and back this guy up, not try to throw him under the bus. That doesn't mean you have to agree with everything he says. That doesn't mean you have to condemn everything he says, or anything like that. You don't even have to comment on everything he says. You don't have to. But you do have to back him up, because you know what's at stake. So, guys, go back to that first video I made and like and share that. Who knows? Maybe if it gets around enough, it'll eventually get to them, and one of them, and they'll see it. Let's let these people know how we feel. Okay? But what did we learn anyway from these Woodward tapes, this bombshell? Everything's always a damn bombshell that doesn't actually explode. What did we learn? We learned nothing. We learned something that we already knew. President Trump downplayed the virus. He downplayed the severity of the virus. He wanted to downplay it. He told us that. He told us that in many different press conferences. He didn't want to cause a panic. That does not mean that his response was a downplay. he did not respond in a lesser manner. Okay? I don't want to hear all this. I don't want to hear this shit, how Joe Biden or any other Democrat would have done things differently. Please, don't tell me that Nancy Pelosi, who, for all you people, for all you lefties who fell asleep during civics class, Nancy Pelosi is the third in line for the presidency. She is number 3. And it's kind of relevant when there's a worldwide pandemic going on. She gets all the intel briefings that the president and the vice president get. She has to. That's the chain of command. That's how it works. She didn't know anything that he didn't know. Okay? They didn't know anything that Fauci didn't know. Fauci himself is on record saying the president was always truthful. The president was always forthcoming about everything that they spoke about. If Fauci believed that he was causing more death, why didn't he come out and say anything? Because that's not the case, and that's an absurd notion. The virus was already here. Nancy Pelosi was in San Francisco telling everybody to come and come down to a damn parade in Chinatown. She's strolling through the salon still with no mask on, getting her hair done. Joe Biden's calling Trump xenophobic because he banned banned travel from China. Please don't make me pull up these damn videos to show you. Let's have some integrity and some objectivity, and at least admit that. And I don't want to hear Joe Biden penned an op-ed. Okay, first of all, he didn't pen shit. Okay? He didn't pen anything. He damn sure didn't type it. We know he didn't write it because it wasn't done in a quill pen. It wasn't written in a quill pen, number one. The guy's so old, he can't even remember a rehearsed Q&A without a teleprompter. So don't tell me that he penned the Q&A. And the Q&A said nothing anyway. It had nothing in it. It had no responses. It had no policies. It had nothing that he would have done actually differently. Okay? Don't tell me about lying. Okay? The CDC, Fauci, Surgeon General, WHO, all said masks are not necessary for months. And then they told us, we were just lying because we didn't want you to have them instead of doctors and nurses. Okay. So what's the problem here? So your people or the media is trying to claim that because Trump didn't come out and say, "Oh my God, everybody's gonna die, please, oh my God," because he didn't say that, more people died. No, his responses were the same. What needed to be done, what needed to be gotten. First of all, the states are in charge of these kinds of responses. We have a federalist system. The president is not a king. He cannot just go into states and say, "Get out of the way, Cuomo, I'm taking over." If he did that, then maybe they wouldn't have 34,000 dead. But that's not the way our system works. Governors, mayors, the local municipalities and local states, if they need something from the federal government procures that for them like they did. There's video after video after video of Cuomo, Murphy, Newsom, and so on saying, thank you for President Trump for getting us everything that we needed, ventilators, PPE. China had a monopoly on all PPE. We don't make that in this country, which is something that President Trump always spoke about. He still got it done. He still got that stuff for us. There was a short time when it was a little hairy and some places had to double up or they had to make sure they had to, ration. But we got past it. Nobody in the country went without the highest level of care possible. That's a confirmed fact. Still, to this day, the media has done such a disservice to us, such a disservice to this country, especially on COVID. To this day, I still hear people say, oh, well, hospitals had to they had to ration care, and they had to deny care to people over 60. No. That was Italy. That was Europe. That was the places with universal health care. That wasn't the United States. Because of the president and because of all his actions, everywhere got the ventilators, PPE. They got things like remdesivir. Despite a campaign, a constant campaign against them, this weird campaign against hydroxychloroquine, calling it poison when it's been around for 70 years and it's been safe for 70 years. All of a sudden, the president says, hey, this shows some promise. All of a sudden, it becomes poison. It's going to kill you. Even to the point where I have to listen to people like Neil Cavuto telling you, this is fucking Neil Cavuto. What does he know? What do you know, dude? You're a Fox Business guy. You don't know anything about hydroxychloroquine. Telling you it's going to kill you? No, it's not. I had to listen to this. The media has done such a terrible disservice during COVID that now here we are again, a bombshell. So the bombshell about Trump downplaying coronavirus is no bombshell at all, says the Daily Wire. Trump said this publicly in March, and he did. Earlier this week, legendary journalist Bob Woodward dropped a bombshell. President Trump admitted on tape that he purposefully downplayed the dangers of the coronavirus even when he knew how deadly the virus could be. Cue Democrat and their media supporters' collective meltdown. And meltdown they did. The tapes are even more devastating than the Nixon tapes, said Woodward's Watergate reporting colleague Carl Bernstein on CNN. First of all, that dude doesn't know how to say any other words besides those. He's been saying that about every single event since Watergate. Talk about stretching your 15 minutes of fame. Holy crap. Trump called the coronavirus deadly in private while minimizing its risks in public, the book reveals. Read the headline at the New York Times. Deadline was more stark. Donald Trump admits downplaying threat of coronavirus as CNN reveals first big bombshell of Woodward book. Yeah, as my former colleague Beckett Adams wrote in the Washington Examiner, the Woodward bombshell is anything but. In fact, Trump said publicly in March what he told Woodward privately at the same time, and just as it is doing now, the media freaked out over Trump's statements. There was an entire news cycle with headlines such as Trump just acknowledged downplaying the coronavirus threat. I knew it could be horrible, and Trump just admitted to downplaying the seriousness of the coronavirus threat, Adams reported. That was in March, after Trump on March 31st said at a White House press briefing that he knew the coronavirus could be horrible, and I knew it may be good. He added, I don't want to be a negative person. It'd be so much easier for me to come up and say, we have bad news. We're going to lose 220,000 people, and it's going to happen over the next few weeks. Trump also said during the press briefing, somebody said, oh, I wish he'd be more negative. Well, this is really easy to be negative about, but I want to give people hope too. You know, I'm a cheerleader for the country. We're going through the worst thing that this country has probably ever seen. Okay. Now, I'm going to deviate from even like Shapiro and some others too, because for some reason they think that this is like a bad thing, not wanting to cause panic. I don't see anything wrong with it. I don't. Why? Well, because we, even without the hysteria and the panic, we had people bum rushing the supermarkets for toilet paper and other essential crap. That there was no reason to do that. There was no reason to do that. And still to this day, I mean, look, New Jersey and New York and other states that have no minimal cases are still shut down, choking the life out of their economy. Why? And people are applauding it. People think it's okay. People think that the government can just keep sending us money, which they're not. Okay, they think it's still okay, and it's not. Okay, so God, imagine if Trump had gone out there and just started going crazy. This would be the other way around. The media would be saying, "Oh, he's causing chaos and panic, and he's not fit to be president." It's all a joke, and the fact that they've politicized this, and the fact that we're not able to come together for something that was sent to us by a foreign enemy, is just really sad. It is. It's basically nobody really did a great job handling this virus. Nobody. And that means nobody in the world. Don't tell me China did. That's nonsense. Europe's in the midst of a second wave right now. The United States, yeah, got hit hard, but we're not even in the top 10 deaths per population. And a lot of those deaths are still from Democratic states, like New York and New Jersey and Pennsylvania and Michigan, all states that forced infected patients back into nursing homes to infect other nursing home patients. But I don't see the media doesn't harp on that. When pressed on it, Governor Cuomo can just say, "Oh, that was the nursing home's fault. That was Trump's fault." So now not only are the Democrats and the media playing this game where they're claiming Trump lied. He lied about the severity of the virus, so people would die. That's their claim. How does that even make sense? Like, he wanted more people to die. He wanted things to be worse and the economy to go worse. That doesn't make any sense. No, he didn't want to cause a panic. That's it. What would he have done differently? Give me something. Tell me, what would Democrats have done differently? Nothing. None of them had not a single person in Congress, in the Senate, stood up and said a damn word about coronavirus. Again, let me remind you, Nancy Pelosi is the third in line to be president. She gets every single intel briefing the president does. Every single one. She knows exactly what's happening. All the intel committees in the Senate, in the House, they are getting intel briefings. Don't give me that. None of them said a word. In fact, it was Democrats who thought that Trump's moves were xenophobic and racist and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They weren't asking for anything as far as COVID relief money originally. They were asking for like a few $1 billion. And then the Republicans actually came back and gave them more than they asked for, because everybody started realizing how serious this was going to be. We didn't know that it was here at the time. Trump didn't know it was here at the time, or how badly it was going to be here. Yeah, he said it was airborne, but we didn't really know that. Nobody knew that. Fauci didn't know that. Do you think Fauci would have said something, right? He would have said something. He said many times, nobody tells me what to say. I come out and I speak my mind. He's also said, when the very first time we made recommendations to the president, he followed those recommendations. He shut the economy down, he shut travel down, etc. But not only are the Democrats playing this game now, they've been playing this game, but there's no more relief in sight. McConnell on Democrats blocking COVID relief. They want no help for American families before the election. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell blasted Senate Democrats on Thursday after they blocked COVID-19 relief funds, saying that their goal was to withhold help for American families until after the election. Every Senate Democrat just voted against hundreds of billions of dollars in COVID-19 relief, McConnell wrote on Twitter. They blocked money for schools, testing, vaccines, unemployment insurance, and the Paycheck Protection Program. Their goal is clear: no help for American families before the election. Okay? And that's exactly right. There could not be a more true statement. The Democrats are all in at this point, and they're keeping states' economies locked down well beyond the necessary time because they don't want the economy to come back, and it is still coming back even despite them. We're down to 8% unemployment despite them, but still, people need help still. Okay, everybody remember that. Keep that in mind. Keep it in mind when you're in states like New Jersey and in New York, when everybody else in the country is at least getting the extra 300 or 400 unemployment extension that Trump signed into effect by executive order, when they're getting it and we're not. Keep this in mind. Why is that? Because our governors didn't apply for it. They didn't want to apply for it because they were holding out hope that the 600 would be reinstated instead. And now they applied for it late, and because it was based on a fund that stops handing out money when it gets depleted to a certain level, people in New Jersey and New York and a couple other blue states are only going to get a few weeks now, if they're lucky, instead of like 6 or 8 weeks or whatever the amount was going to be. Other people in other states are going to be getting at least 6 weeks worth. New Jersey will be lucky if we get 2 or 3, because our governors waited until the fund was so depleted. Now, Senate Democrats used the filibuster rule, which is something that Obama called a Jim Crow relic. They used that Jim Crow relic that they said they want to do away with if they regain total power. They used that to block more COVID relief. Why? Because it wasn't robust enough? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Pass something now so people get some money at least, and then work on more later if you have to. Do whatever you have to get people some relief. Please, don't forget that. Don't forget that come election day. Believe it or not, Republicans were the ones that were ready to give you money, and Democrats said no. It's a first. It really is. But Trump makes Democrats do weird stuff. Anyway, with all that being said, President Trump, you should know, you have to know by now that these vultures in the media are never going to give you a fair shake, and therefore you should never be speaking to them like that. They're never going to give you on the record, off the record consideration. They're never going to change their mind about you. They're never going to see the light and think, wow, he does have good points here. Let me give him an objective shake here. Let me give some objectivity to his points of view. You're not going to be Luke Skywalker here and bring Darth Vader back from the light side. They are not going to come to your side. So with that being said, when you come out and speak now, we need you to just come out and stay on your policies. Your policies are good. Tell us what you're going to do to bring more jobs back, how you're going to keep COVID down, specifics, how you're going to be tough on China. And I want tough on China. How you're going to bring more manufacturing jobs back here now, how we're going to manufacture things like our antibiotics and our PPE in this country now. That's what you're going to do. Tell us how. That's all you need to do. That's all you need to say for the duration of the election. Let's leave personal Twitter feuds out of it. Let's leave all these conversations with these jackals and vultures in the media. Let Kayleigh McEnany deal with them, because they're going to spin and twist everything that you say no matter what, despite all the good that you do. So please, everybody share this video. Let's get this to him. If you feel the same way as I do, let's get this to him so he can see it, so he knows that we still support him, but we need him to pull us over the finish line now. We're behind him 100%, but we need him to pull us over the finish line by sticking to policy and coming out and sending Joe Biden to the Shady Acres retirement home when he debates him with good policy, facts and crushing him on all of his weaknesses, like his deals with China and Hunter Biden and his 47 years of garbage that he's done for this country. Okay, so please share this, get this out to him, let him know that how we feel.